Graham Coxon, Bittersweet Bundle of Misery. You're listening to Russell Brand on BBC Radio 2, and I'd like to dedicate that song to people that are listening to it. Hello, Matt. Are you alright, mate?
Can't do that.
Yes, you can.
Dedication.
What?
That's
Why
not
not?
bad dedication.
I think it's good, because if you're listening to it, that's for you. There's no
But it's
point.
finished, so no one's listening to it.
Oh, right, okay.
Get your
fine.
tenses right.
I have dedicated that thing that just happened to you lot. You're right there, Matt.
Yes.
Matt, you're in charge of the buttons today. It's quite a responsibility.
Yep, lot of
isn't it?
buttons. Don't
lot
look at them.
of buttons.
Don't
It's
worry
baffling
yourself.
just to peer over at those things. Dreadful business, really. Trevor Locke's here also. You're in charge of emails and techno letters.
Yes, I am.
Are you feeling well today?
I am. I'm feeling a lot better. I've been poorly, but...
Trevor, I'm sure the people of Great Britain don't want to hear about your psychological condition.
I wasn't about to go
It's a
into it.
laundry affair that it is. So, the theme of today's radio show is self-improvement and the moments that have spurred you on to self-improvement. That's what we've decided to have as a theme. Matt and Trevor have written a blog for the show. I write it as well sometimes, but those times are
When
never...
times?
Never times, because I don't have time to write the blog, but I do so don't to pretend it's me. It's just, you know, but I will write a blog one day. It'd be ever so nice.
Brilliant.
So Matt, that's something to look forward to. See what Father Christmas brings you. So Matt's saying about Courtney Love criticised Matt's teeth.
On many occasions, and on telly.
Yeah, we do a show on Channel 4.
She's flirting with you.
She's flirting with you. Oh, is that your judgment, is it, Trev?
Yes, it is my judgment, because she's a friend of Neil Strauss, and that is a well-known technique that he employs.
Yeah, that
Neil
is actually.
She's negging you, Matt. Negging you, mate.
Neil Strauss actually wrote the book The Game, a womanising handbook. Neil Strauss is an author that we have met before, and yes, he is a friend of Courtney Love, and you therefore
You're
think
not
that
in
Courtney Love. Not yet. It's only a matter of time. Trevor using Neil Strauss as a Bible.
that we once looked at, Your Honour. Yeah, but he did. He said that when you fancy someone, you should say something sort of cheeky
Vaguely
negative.
Alright, love, you look a bit fat. Fancy a cuddle.
That's
No.
exactly what he said.
It's only when you think that they're out of your league and they're very, very beautiful. And obviously
I
that's
don't
what
think Courtney Love thinks about
I think she does. Clearly she does. You're a younger man. You're very handsome. You look a little bit like the Aphex Twin.
No, why's that come out? Someone sent in a photo of me compared to the Aphex Twin. I do look a bit like him.
Well, that's all very nice. Now, self-improvement. Now, what occasions have you felt inspired to improve yourself? Here's my example of it. I was inspired to stop taking the old filthy heroin and crack, nasty drugs both, when I went to a Christmas party at our management company. I went along in the company of this gentleman called Harmonica Matt. Harmonica Matt always smelled of Watsits, regardless of the time of
was
year.
sick.
As Matt and other naysayers like to claim it was sick. I think that you are negging Harmonica Matt because you secretly fancy it. Oh, you're not smell of sick, mate. Get out of my dreams and into my bra. So,
No, I remember that party. Russell phoned ahead and goes, I'm bringing someone. I said, who? Harmonica Matt. This bloke who was a homeless man who smelled of vomit. And he turned up and he goes, oh, it's great, isn't he? He's brilliant, isn't he? And he
you
was
could
just
play
standing there.
harmonica, Matthew Morgan. He couldn't.
He could. It was the only time that he wasn't gibbering.
Yeah, because the rest of the time he had this odd stutter. He was a bit like sort of a Gareth Gates, but a blues version. He went like that, made some strange noises. He was a lovely fellow. I
was
had
lovely.
a lot of time for him.
And I said to Russell, I remember saying to him, he smells of sick, mate. You shouldn't have brought him. He goes, it's not, it's crisp.
That man is a brilliant musician and will be exposed as such soon when he performs. And then he did a performance, refused to get off the stage, and very nearly ruined that Christmas party. And we also discovered another charming new facet of Harmonica Matt's character. He had a bit of an eye for the ladies. He spent the night looming down Davina McCall's bra and travelling Tess Daly. He was a
He looked like
nuisance.
Meatloaf, didn't he?
He did look a bit like Meatloaf. I liked him, actually.
What was that
Harmonica
thing where he had a doll in a pushchair and he used to go, my baby?
He had
Do you
this,
remember that?
we went around with him because often when I used to be a drug addict, I used to think that I was sort of like an Andy Warhol figure making art out of people. I thought, that person is art, I'll use him as
The
such.
only people who'd hang around with Russell.
No. Matt may like to say that my friends were homeless drunks and drug addicts. I saw it as I was down among the have-nots like another person from history. That's right, good old Jesus. So I was going around with lots of homeless people with that, and I remember like we were Matt goes, yeah, let's make a TV programme about Harmonica Matt.
I didn't say that.
Alright, it was me. Simply on the basis that he was all weird. Right, and he used to push a toy baby, a dolly, around in a pram thing, and then he just would stop off at the bottom of escalators and sing, there's something wrong with my baby, there's something wrong with me. And the people
Why
give
did
him
he do
money.
that?
I think it was just his way. That's his nature. That's part of his culture. Don't criticise that, Matt. That's part of his
nearly
way.
had a joint account with him. Really good mates.
Matt, well, I think you will be far simpler if you and I were to co-join our financial affairs. It's a lot of silly bother, us living separate lives. Anyway, he came along to that party, he caused a lot of silliness. Then I went off to the lavvy, took all manner of silly drugs. People came in and caught me, because they knew I was taking drugs, but they didn't know what drugs and how often. And then
You weren't very discreet, were you?
Not really. I used to take them quite publicly, sometimes live on television while interviewing Kylie Minogue, etc. So that was all of then. Anyway, the management company realised I was taking too many drugs, sent me off to my special little drugs holiday where I would look out of windows, cupping myself, crying and learning some hard home truths. So that was a bit of a wake-up call for me. When did you realise that self-improvement was necessary in your life? Perhaps you've got an example. Yeah, give us a ring on 0500 288 or you can text us on 88291. This is BBC Radio 2 on 88 to 91 FM. Why don't we listen to Mark Bolan now? He'll cheer us up. That was T-Rex, 20th Century Boy. Nice, isn't it? That's really made me feel dreadfully uplifted.
That hasn't dated, has it?
It's not dated. If anything, it's become more pertinent now that the 21st century's happened. There was a jump in the middle of that, and if you heard that on your wireless, I can only apologise. It was because of Trevor and Matt suddenly decided that they'd like to try life as a gay couple. Started kissing and cuddling, and whilst it was very moving to watch them expressing themselves physically, it were unprofessional. So, okay, yeah, talking about, what we're talking about, so the moments where you've realised, of course, that you needed to change, that you needed to improve yourself. Trevor, have you ever had such a moment in your ridiculous life?
Yeah, I remember when I found out that, they told me I had to take a gum shield to bed.
You had to take a gum shield to bed?
Well, wear one, really.
I bet your wife was relieved to probably take the pressure off her. No, he's got this gum shield. I might get some peace and quiet. Cuddle that up all nice.
She was relieved.
Yeah, I bet. Why did you need a gum shield, Trev?
Because I was so stressed.
Did she punch you in the night? Did she? Oh, God, I've married this idiot. I take that!
No, it was, I was just very stressed and I didn't realise it, and I've got this thing with my jaw, and basically my dentist told me that I was wearing my teeth down, and that unlike a rabbit, they weren't growing anymore.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame you've not got more qualities of the rabbit, Trev. Then you could just leave your droppings in the garden, couldn't you?
I could find a little hole and burrow myself down there.
How's a gum shield going to help?
Well, the gum shield, it protects
me. It's only
me.
the front bit, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the top bit. Just goes. It's like rugby players wear them, and it stops you from.
Not in bed.
No, not in bed.
It prevents. I suppose it prevents him grinding his teeth. I suppose.
Surely there's a choking danger.
There's
I think your dentist disliked you.
I think he found a loophole by which you could dispose of Trevor. I'm getting rather tired of Mr. Locke cluttering up my surgery, demanding to have vampire's teeth fitted and...
Sleep with a golf ball in your mouth. It'll be fine.
In the middle of a roundabout. Ridiculous, Trevor. So how's this, has that improved you in any way?
Well, it's brilliant because you put it in, and then if I grind my teeth, it wakes me up, so I stop doing it, which is good for my cheek muscles, and it means my teeth will last a little bit longer as well.
That's nice,
Well,
Trev.
that's made my heart bleed.
I like to think of Trev having lovely pearly gnashes right up into his 90s. Matt, one way that you could improve yourself, in my humble view, is by not ordering a dinner every single place you go. Before the show, right, one of the people that works here goes, "Oh, would you like any food?" And I goes, "Yes, please, yes, because I've not had a dinner yet," right? And they go, "Oh, well, Matt wasn't here yet because he's slovenly in his attitude to work." They go, "Well, Matt wants some work. Will Matt want some food?" I go, "Yeah, you might as well order him a ridiculously hot curry so he can prove his fragile masculinity by scoffing down hot chunks of lamb."
hot food.
I goes, even if he's just eaten, even if he's coming from a restaurant and you ask him for food, he'll still have some. The other day, right, we was...
Hang on, can I just stop you? I have come from a restaurant, right?
Right. And you are having a big load of dinner, aren't you?
Look who ordered the dinner, you. And you're going, well, Matt, wherever he goes, orders dinner. And I get here and Russell goes to me, "I've ordered you dinner."
I know, because
It's
I'm trying to
you.
look after you, trying to cater for you and your obvious flaws. Right, so, but what about that?
I remember when you did used to cater for me. When I used to come around your house, the one meal Russell can prepare, probably to this day,
It's a delicious feast.
vegetarian sausages on sort of mixed leaves with some brown cooking sauce that's going to be actually used as a sort of marinade that Russell thought was some sort of, God knows, sprinkle sauce.
I liked it. That was a delicious feast fit for all.
I used to go around and
Everyone's laughing because everyone's been subjected to that meal whenever they've been round to my house.
Have you had that, Chi?
Delicious dinner.
He used to get-
Ungrateful brutes. I was
You
out
used
there
to- as soon as you got for the door, he couldn't wait to. Oh, I'll cook. Don't worry. No, I'll just get a takeaway, Russ. No. I'll just knock this up. Let's put these.
First, you cook the sausages.
First, you get all these ingredients that don't quite go together.
And force them into an uncomfortable corset of a meal.
very
Difficult
nice.
business. The other day, of course, we went to Claridge's to meet Courtney Love. She's gone back to America now, so it don't matter where she was staying. She was at Claridge's. I went downstairs to meet Max, who was like had to prepare Courtney Love to come on our TV
God, I
show
was
and our radio show.
uncomfortable.
Matt was sat there, we sat downstairs in Claridge's. I, of course, one of them people, fits in anywhere. I can have, like, I could sort of perhaps spend breakfast with some workers and then dine out with a duchess all on the same day, and it would go effortlessly.
No, not really.
Matt, you put... yes, definitely.
You think that, but you put on a posh voice. And
Yeah.
then you go, oh, can I have some chips? And, can I have ketchup and mayonnaise?
What,
You ask for,
Claridge's?
yeah, you ask for things that, you might ask them in an arrogant way. Doesn't mean you fitted in.
I fitted right in.
They're running around the kitchen trying to find the rubbish food for you.
Get me some spam, please. Was it like, it was in Claridge's. He couldn't cope with the pressure of being in that environment.
I didn't
was
like it. But the waiter came over and goes, would you like some food? He ordered some food, and then I was just about to speak, and he goes, Matt, you're doing that thing where you order food everywhere you go. Like that.
I suppressed him.
Why are you so obsessed with how much I eat?
It's not healthy.
Well, he's got enough complexes, isn't he? With food going into his body, he's got a complex about food leaving his body, he's got a complex about...
Don't talk about my complex of food leaving my body, because I've got some information about you.
Well, I've got information about you, Sonny
Yeah,
Jim.
well, I've got information about you.
And your whole lifetime spent with defecation
Russell's
habits
mum told
with
me-
embarrassed terrorists.
When-
She told me as well, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
when
on.
Russell was a little boy, to encourage him to go to the toilet, when he'd been to the toilet successfully without a tantrum, he got a farm animal.
A toy one.
A toy one, not a
Oh yeah, a toy one,
little
obviously.
plastic one.
It'd be madness otherwise.
Yeah, well,
So you
and
did,
it's
didn't you?
meant I've not grown up into an unusual faecophiliac who can't eat in restaurants, so it was obviously
Yes.
a very successful way of raising a young man.
Does carry around a sack of little zebras though.
Not even farm animals.
He's
You
got
wouldn't get a
zoo.
zebra on a farm unless it was in Zimbabwe or somewhere. Now, Matthew, Trevor,
Yes.
this is a wonderful show that we've got coming up. I interview Morrissey later on in this show. It's
Wow.
pre-recorded. It's a wonderful, wonderful interview. That'll be the last half hour or so of the show. I think last half hour of the show, that'll be me chattering away to Morrissey. Now, neither of you two know the content of this interview, but let me tell you this. Mark, the producer of this radio show, says it's the most insightful Morrissey interview that he's ever had the displeasure of having to endure. It was good, it was, actually. It was good. It was very
So
good
you've
interview.
met your hero.
That's it. There is no...
Who else
me,
on the planet?
Peter Cook is no longer alive. Can't meet him. That's it. Practically,
No one else.
Stephen Fry, Woody Allen. Who else would you want to meet? Who else is there?
Larry
Footballers,
David?
I suppose. Larry David, yeah. Sort of maybe some comedy people. But Morrissey occupies that very specific territory in one's heart and dreams. As someone who stewarded you through difficult adolescence. So it's difficult to...
Didn't do it for me.
No, I don't know what you were doing with your adolescence. Glue sniffing probably and doing blow-offs. Some of us were cultivating a poetic soul. Yeah, so it was wonderful to meet him. And, he didn't let me down. Enigmatic, charming, wonderful. It's a brilliant interview. Stay tuned for that. That's coming up, like, I don't know, about an hour or something. That'll be on. Should we ring Noel Gallagher up? Might as
Yeah.
well. He'll probably be listening to this, won't he?
Trent he's met Morrissey.
Of course he will have done, and he'd have right nosed it up. He'd have been charmless, wouldn't he? He wouldn't have known how to move. I know he admires Morrissey and likes him a lot. We'll ask him about Morrissey. We'll try and give Noel Gallagher a ring. We shouldn't take him for granted, though, of course. Noel Gallagher is a wonderful and brilliant man, but also a bit of a boor. Right, let's listen to another record. Let's listen to Tom Waits' Heart Saturday Night, which is, is a more sort of a sensitive, reflective, ponderous song. It's not like, it's not an arse-whooping lot of hoopla. It's lovely, though. Have a little think about it, because it's like trying to discover essential happiness through the culture we're living in, and sort of constantly being shortchanged by that culture, because ultimately we can't find that kind of happiness without finding some sort of beauty.
You had your
truth or
tablets
God.
today,
Yes, I
dear.
took my tablets. Help me, nurse, the screens. What a beautiful, touching, moving song that is by Tom Waits. Looking
Yeah.
out a Saturday night. We're on Radio 2. This is Russell Brand. I wonder what he means. Magic of a melancholy tear in the eye. Oh, God. Dear old life. It's so sentimental and beautiful and painful. What was that man said to me once? Oh, yeah, it was a psychiatrist I was talking to. I was talking about the pain and beauty in life to this psychiatrist, and he said, look, I just want to get on with this bus journey, leave me alone. No, I was in a session. And he goes, once I was driving down through a valley in Wales, and he goes, I just pulled over the car and, like, marvelled at the beauty and the nuministic glory of all nature, and he got all choked when he was telling me about it. I thought, is this what I'm paying you £100 an hour for? You just sob like a weakling just because there's some grass and an accent? No, I was all touched by it, but you know,
Didn't you
I
used
can't
to
deal
see it
with
as a
emotion.
challenge to make your psychiatrist cry?
Yes, I did actually. I always used to think, now these people are used to dealing with difficult cases. If I can unravel his mind, I used to approach psychiatry like I was Hannibal Lecter with Clarice Starling. Well, you can try and unravel me with your questions and your cheap handbag. What's that with?
What was it? You spent some money on...
Some snake oil lunatics,
Really,
people
yeah.
hypnotising
He used to
me,
go to someone.
regressing
He
me.
used to waggle a biro in front of his eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Pay him, how much was it?
A bunch of cash.
What's the biro thing?
He would waggle a biro in front of my eyes. And then he'd
sure it was
jab
a
me
biro?
with it in the wrist and say, what have you learned?
No, what was it?
You go into a hypnotic state through watching it, apparently, because apparently through watching that biro move, your mind thinks you're going into rapid eye movement of the dream state, and you can access different parts of the brain. That's what that bloke said to me, but he giggled even when he said it.
That's brilliant though. He got an office and he thought, right, stationery cupboard, a biro, that's all I need.
By sticking this post-it note to the back of your head, I can make you a millionaire. If you take this ruler and ping it on your desk, it makes this noise. That wagga-dagga-dagga-dagga noise will be a hit single any day now. Mark my words, mark 'em.
So when did you realise, oh, that's a wake-up call?
I
Not
just-
going to him anymore.
He goes, it's difficult for me to help you, young man, when you keep taking quite so much heroin. And I go, well, I'm sorry, but I'm committed
It's
to
my
this
hobby.
heroin. Don't you ruin my hobby, doctor, because I will leave. I'm not swapping heroin for a biro. Other pens are available. But fortunately, one day I did improve myself and give up heroin. Wendy's on the line from Armagh. She's going to tell us how she improved herself. Hello, Wendy. How are you, my love?
I'm fine,
Wendy?
thank you. How are you? Hello.
Wendy, I can't hear Wendy in my cans at all. I've never got any Wendy. Wendy, dear. Wendy?
Hello.
Right, now, some people apparently can hear Wendy, but I'm not one of those people. Wendy?
Hello.
Ah, Wendy, you came and you gave without taking, but we
I always
sent you
had Wendy in my
Wendy.
ears.
You could hear Wendy throughout.
All
Wendy, I apologise for that embarrassing moment, and I apologise to people listening. But
Oh,
now
you're
I can...
forgiven.
Thanks, Wendy, for forgiving me. So, when did you decide to improve yourself? Tell me about your self-improvement.
Well, it was about 4 years ago now, and I was visiting a friend in a town, and the friend in the town will remain nameless.
You was visiting a friend and a town, but you're not prepared to reveal the identity of the friend or the town.
No, just
don't-
in case.
You can't offend a whole town, Wendy. I don't
Well,
reckon.
you
If you
don't
went,
know, you
it was
don't know.
Manchester. I don't reckon everyone in Manchester would go, the cow!
But went down for a bit of a drinking session, ended up scoffing too much whiskey, and I woke up in her boyfriend's clothes.
That's interesting.
Clothes?
Yes, his clothes, yes.
Dressed up as her boyfriend. Were you
Indeed.
were you trying to do his job or anything? Like you tried to steal his life in an anthropological
I
experiment?
sincerely hope not.
So, like, what do you think you had done? Discarded your own clothes?
I think so, in like a wild moment of abandonment. I think I just threw them to the wind and decided to put on anything at hand. But
Glorious, really, Wendy, to think of you so liberated. I mean, now you sound so composed. To think of you doused in whiskey, dancing round some nameless town, casting off your robes unshackled and free.
indeed, that's what whiskey used to do to me, but I don't drink it anymore, so...
Good. Did any reports emerge to suggest what might have gone on during that evening?
No, the mystery still remains today. Nobody has any idea. I think they want to protect my dignity. I'm not too sure, but
Or
I prefer
perhaps-
not to know.
I think, yeah, perhaps it is to protect your dignity. Perhaps your behaviour was so shocking, so abhorrent, Wendy, that they've decided to keep it from you forever.
Well, it's best it remains that way, I think, yeah.
It's good, because you are yourself the soul of discretion, not mentioning either the name of the friend or the town in an
Precisely.
attempt to keep things top secret. Wendy, thank you very much, dear, for telling us about your drunken abandonment. Now, I suggest what you do now is listen to the rest of this show while slinging whiskey down your neck, and then give us a call tomorrow, like, and say, I'm outside the studios of BBC Radio 2, nude! Ring us up all nude. It'll be a delight to hear from you.
Yeah, Wonderful. Sounds
Go on,
great.
Wendy, express yourself. Hey, it's lovely talking to you, my dear. Take
Okay,
care.
no problem.
Ta-ta, thanks for your call, thanks for your time. Old Wendy did sound composed, didn't she? I can't imagine her behaving like that.
I think she didn't dress. She didn't put those clothes on. So she must have done
Someone
something so
dressed her.
terrible that the boyfriend's like gone, "Come on, Wendy," and then had to put some clothes on her.
Right, she was probably marching around with a broken whiskey one. Oh, give us a cuddle, give us a snug! Like that, nude,
Yeah.
perhaps.
She woke up and thought, "Oh, blimey, I've put someone else's clothes on."
Oh, what a mishap, what an embarrassment, but really
much
what
more to
preceded it was probably grim.
She don't even remember the name of that town.
Yeah, she don't know where it was.
It will remain nameless. Simple reason.
I don't know where it
lost.
is anymore. Why don't you phone us on 0500 288 291? Tell us about your embarrassing. Well, no, it's not embarrassing incidents. Moments that realised where you thought, oh hello, I better improve myself. Perhaps you, like Wendy, disgraced yourself. Or what was this? Oh, someone sent me a lovely email saying that they decided to they decided it was time to learn to drive when something terrible happened on a bus.
When are you going to learn to drive?
Never. I
Really?
think cars are wrong a bit. Mm-hmm. Oh, here we are. Yeah, look, Victoria Brennan says, I love the show, guys. Victoria says, from Barnsley. I realised that I should learn to drive when a man... Well, she uses a sex word involving your own self, onanism. When a man did this thing next to me on a bus. I've since passed my test and fear using public transport again. The memory still scars me today, although I think about it regularly whilst looking at my husband's lap. Victoria, what a curious tale.
Do you think it was her husband?
Oh, that taught her to drive. She's not clear about that. Victoria,
No,
perhaps she should get in touch with us. What do you think was her husband?
Why is she looking at her husband's lap?
I made that bit up at the end to spice up the email, mate. I just sometimes do that. So I was thinking, hold on, this email needs a little punch, a little sting in the tail. I'll add that with a lie. So, yeah, give us a call, 0500 288 291. Tell us about when you thought, hello, time to improve my life. Or you can email russell.brand@bbc.co.uk. Matthew.
Why do you say cars are wrong?
Oh, I think cars are wrong.
Because you can't drive one and it's convenient to say that.
Because it's convenient for me to attach a moral judgment for something I can't do, because I simply can't be
I
bothered.
think hang gliders are very dangerous.
Hang gliders are responsible for racist killings. That is why I will never be involved. Go on, Trev. What
Well,
are
you go
saying?
everywhere in a car. That doesn't make sense. Using
Yeah.
cars wrong. It's not like you use public transport.
And
you just get someone
he
else to do
demands
the
it's a
driving.
Mercedes.
I don't demand, I suggest aggressively that if they want me to get in it, it should be a nice car. No, I don't. Look, I'm a nice young man. I've had a terrible life.
Shut up. You can't fall back on that. You can't say cars are wrong.
Cars are wrong! Cars are wrong! And that's the bloody reason why I'm singing this song!
Is this one of your football chants?
Yeah. Right, football charts, good ones are coming in. G suggested some new lyrics. Our resident poet G suggested some new lyrics for Uptown Girl. Some people have sent emails saying perhaps that everyone thinks it's a brilliant idea that I'm trying to reinvigorate culture, the culture of football songs. I myself saw the film Green Street and became a little bit worried that I was plundering the sort of football culture. Because I'm a football fan, lifelong West Ham fan, went there with my dad, etc, etc. I'm not one of them people who's utterly defined by their love of their football team. Like, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
sort of, look at me, I talk like this, oh hello, right? So that's not a person that's utterly defined by it. And then when I saw this film Green Street, right, it's, in my view, one doesn't like to criticise others, but there's that film's they've made some curious choices. Like the lead hooligan, it's a film about Green Street is the street that West Ham's ground is on. And this film follows the fortunes of a group of hooligans and an American student, Elijah Wood, who gets caught up with these hooligans, seduced by the fraternity and romanticism of working class culture, particularly around football hooliganism. But the lead hooligan, played by this, like, handsome lad, who's not from England, London, or, you know, far less London, he's
meant to be-
talking like this a lot of the time! Right, sort of like...
That's your market. How dare he?
They should have cast me in the role of the leader of the ICF. Also, it's not called the ICF, Intercity Firm, the actual name of West Ham's
Intercity Firm,
Yeah,
is that what they're called?
They used to take
I'm not
trains
gonna
everywhere
say
and...
anything bad about them.
No, they're a lovely bunch of fellas. Some of you guys not get involved. But they call it the GSE, the Green Street Elite. You know, I don't know what the reason is, but probably the same reason we shouldn't mention Intercity Firm, I would imagine, to avoid dangerous reprisals from brilliant, hard, reckless men. But anyway, this film, Green Street, is sort of like, it's about sort of football hooliganism, and it's sort of a bit simplistic I think, you know, it doesn't like sort of like, you know, oh look, we're a band of brothers, we happy few type vibe. But you can't ever quite get into it because of the Cockney accent of the lead.
Does it glorify it?
It glorifies it a little bit, but also the film is, in my view, you know, there's some good people. I know some of the actors that are in it. And
just
they're
say
good.
it's rubbish. If you think it's rubbish.
Absolute filth! No, I don't want to criticise, you know, it's not nice to criticise that. I don't like it.
But if you think it's rubbish, say it's rubbish.
Really? I just do that, do I?
Yeah.
I feel like that man with his pen. If you don't like it, say so.
Oh, wag
Thanks,
the pen.
Doctor. Here's 500 quid. See you later.
Give the pen another wiggle, I shall give you a farthing. Do you want me to
Next week, an HB pencil.
No,
You're doing really well.
Here, look, there's a rubber on the end of this one. That means we can see into the future and erase the past. Yeah, so, the football chant, anyway, I sort of thought, is it right? Because I sort of thought I didn't like the reappropriation of football culture in this film because I thought it was badly handled. And I thought, oh, me trying to get, like, West Ham fans to sing Uptown Girl, I thought maybe that, too, is a little bit sort of daft. But actually, I think it's quite sweet, and there's been loads and loads of, like, you know, interest and people suggesting lyrics, and I've learned loads about different sort of football songs from all over the country. And also, the announcer at Upton Park, Jeremy Nicholas, right, he played Uptown Girl at half-time for West Ham versus Sheffield United. Like, he played it.
Could that have been coincidence?
No, because I spoke to him in the Lavy at Upton Park.
And what happened?
The previous
Did anyone
week.
join in?
What, in the Lavy? No, it's just the two of us. Very romantic course too, Trevor. That's the way I would have wanted it. Yes, no, he's he's married. I think he's had a baby
Yes, I
recently.
wasn't referring to that.
Oh. Okay.
Was there anyone joining in?
No, but it's at half-time people don't sing. I think he was just doing it to plant that into this, into
Hang on, when
this
did you go?
subconscious mind.
When did you corner him in the lavvy?
What do you mean? I didn't corner him.
Was this before?
Where did the verb to corner get thrown into this guy?
Play Uptown Girl.
Otherwise, I'll be using this guy for a very different purpose. Uptown Girl. None of that sort of thing happened. Don't shake your head at me. It's only a little bit of toilet humour. Think of what we used to be like. Yeah, so I think that, in
So
a
he
way,
played
it's
that for
lovely.
you?
He played that for me. And I think really it's alright to do this campaign, but also I've simply not got the courage to be the person that stands up and goes, Upton Park! Okay, you know, I don't know. G thought of a better version because it's got much more swearing in it that counters the natural campness of the song. Upton Park, we're the Hammers, we're from Upton Park. Your version was like, we're effing this, we're effing that.
But it was
We'll
good, that
effing
people will go
beat
for
you
that.
up. Yeah, no, that one will probably be easier to market.
Not got any of your silly.
Yeah,
of
which is the
stage
bunch of
school
East
child.
End boys. Give us a cuddle, let's make some noise. Look at my bum. Yeah, G made it a little less
Duff
campy.
you are.
If you don't want to get pinched, the cup's nice. Okay. Why don't you give us a call, 0500 288, tell us about how you've tried to improve yourself, talk about football, talk about what you want, really. It'd be nice to have a little
It's
bit
like
of a
Woody
chin
Allen
wag.
trying to come up with a football chant. You're worrying about
Oh
it too
God!
much.
Oh, I'm trying to come up with.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Now I'm next to him in the toilet. I can't go, he can't go.
We're there for hours. Okay, well, it's 0500 288 291. You listen to Radio 2. What are we going to listen to now, mate?
Jay-Z.
Oh,
Bit of hip-hop.
Jay-Z, about time we embraced bleeding black culture on this show. Come on, let's have a listen to some hippity-hop. That there with Jay-Z, bit of poignant hip-hop poetry, nice.
That's good. I love that sample. So it's Otis Redding sample.
It's Reading sample.
I know. Max Romeo.
Sample, there you go. You listen to
good.
Radio 2, that was Jay-Z. It's about 10. Oh, I've never said that on the radio before. It's 10:15 if you want to know the time. It's one of the things you're meant to do on radio, isn't it? It's about 10:15, mate. You tell people the time.
Just randomly tell them without asking.
It's time, it's about 10:15. Oh, good old life, it being 10:45 and all. Ah, yes.
It's always 10:15, isn't it?
Oh, have you noticed that? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's 10:15. We've not got round to ringing Noel Gallagher. Did Claire Jones, who works here, get that lady, that man on the phone wanted to talk to? Oh, yes. Mick from Shenfield. Mick, are you here, mate?
Yeah, I can just say here, Russell, yeah.
Good, I'm glad you can hear me. Now,
Yeah.
today you got yourself castigated in a garage. Tell me what on earth was going on.
Well, I answered the phone on the forecourt,
Of
and
the
then I got
garage.
told off by the manager,
Yeah.
and then I went in to pay for my fuel and got told off twice more by two other people.
Right, because actually you're not allowed to use your mobile phone on a
Well, that's
forecourt.
what they say, but it's not really true, is it?
Why is it not true? I think it is true, Mick, because it could start a fire, couldn't it? I
They
don't know.
say that, but
What kind of-
Brainiac proved them wrong, didn't it?
Mick, Brainiac, we cannot take the evidence of Sky One show Brainiac and apply it in life. It
Yeah,
is-
but when you think about it, you got, on a modern petrol car, you got 40,000 volts on the ignition system. So that would mean you would have to park your car on the road and push it in, fill it up with fuel, and push it out again.
Mick, if this is more evidence that you have accrued from watching the show Brainiac...
No, this is my own independent research by sticking my fingers into things.
Do you get yourself in a lot of trouble on garage forecourts?
Well, not really the forecourt, it's the much sort of people and that, you know.
You're a black cab driver, are you, mate?
No, it's Essex, so it's, oh, that's it, I'm just getting me dinner.
Radio 2, you're just casually getting your dinner? What are you having?
Matty D's. They give me the wrong thing, actually.
Other burger joints are available. Don't go to them, though, they're very bad for you.
I know.
What are you doing there, Mick?
No, so it's a licensed taxi. It's all proper, like, you know.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on the forecourt again now, actually. I'm just going past the BP thing.
You've learned nothing. Get off the forecourt, Mick. You're a menace.
It is weird that you can't talk on the phone on a forecourt.
It's stupid, isn't it? Because you've got the radio on, and they start, you know.
Mick, turn your radio on.
That's right, that'll happen on forecourt.
I'm getting back in the cab now.
Mick, I don't think you should be allowed near any technology.
He's morphing into a new doctor.
Mick's become a new taxi driver from the future.
That was a live demonstration. I didn't get blown out. I walked from the restaurant. Call it a restaurant if you want.
Mick, we all heard a very strange noise. We all of us heard it, so I think there's very real evidence to suggest that not only should you not be allowed to use your mobile phone on forecourts, you shouldn't be allowed to use it to phone up radio stations. You're a menace, Mick.
A menace. So that's not bad, because there's no point in going on unless you make a little bit of impact.
That's right. That's
true.
A very good point.
Yeah.
Are you going to stay listening to the show? Cause
I'm really enjoying it, actually.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. I'm just going to sit and eat my dinner now.
Keep out of trouble.
Just keep your nose clean, Mick. Stay off the gear.
It's got a long night ahead. I expect to finish about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the drunks and that soon.
Do the drunks?
Yeah.
I hope you mean driving places and not take advantage of them. Try and get their belts off.
No, I've got actually one gave me
a drunk?
A Yorkie bar and
other chocolates are available. A drunk gave you a Yorkie bar? Chocolate
yeah,
bar.
and a bag of them Nobby's nuts.
Stop going on about brand names. There's just been a conversation about a man plugging brands. Might as well have a phone call from Gerald Ratner.
Never had them before, and I thought, well, not bad.
Alright, Mick, you've got to go. You're a menace. Matt, I suggest you go to a garage forecourt, right? Put about 10 B&H or any kind of fags in your mouth and try and light them in a variety of ways off of fireworks and that. It'll be a glorious display, then send the results to Brainiac. I'm only joking, Mick, you're a lovely bloke. Thanks for that call, mate. Mick, stay with us.
He's gone.
Oh, Mick! Oh, we cut Mick off. I mean, yeah, Mick has exploded.
I like
now.
Mick, he sounded like John Lydon.
He was interesting character, wasn't he?
I'll have me dinner now.
Oh, yes, have some dinner, Malcolm. Yeah, he was a lovely fella. Alright, then let's, give us a bell if you want to promote some brands on 0500 288 291. We've got Morrissey coming up later on in this show. A more inconsequential nattering from us three twerps and potted philosophers. Email russell.brand@bbc.co.uk. We're not looking at emails, actually. Let's have some emails, have a little look at our emails, what we've got. And, yeah, what we're going to listen to now, Matthew Morgan?
Gang of Four.
Oh, Gang of Four. Oh, dear, there's a bunch of lovely lads. What's the track?
Damaged Goods.
Oh, Christ.
The best song.
Let's dedicate it to Mick.
Okay.
Mick, this is
Damaged Goods.
Damaged Goods, this is to you, Mick, and to any forecourt that you potentially visit. Take it easy. That was Gang of Four. I've moved away from the microphone, just having a little look around the world. Gang of Four there with Damaged Goods. You listen to Radio 2. Russell Brand, you're right, Trevor. Look, I've never seen you look quite so perplexed. What's the matter?
I was just wondering, were they named after the SDP, or was the SDP named after them?
There's a joke there for anyone who was interested in liberal politics in the early 80s. What's wrong with you,
No,
man?
called the Gang of Four. I mean, I've never heard that record before, and I was around.
I
was
think
about
there's a
7 years
connection.
old at that time, and I remember the Gang of Four being associated with David Owen and Shirley Williams. SDP.
Wow.
That's a lovely reference, Trevor, and I'm sure. I think any listeners of Radio 2 that would be interested in that reference turned off when they heard the first little Russ go, "Alright, well, let's show, we'll play the music." So, but that, you've alienated our listener. You haven't, Trevor. It's an interesting reference. Good old Shirley Williams. Now, so we're talking, what we're talking about here. Evening, Russell, it's Dan from Hornchurch. Says, I'm presuming this is Dan from Hornchurch. I decided to improve myself when I looked in the mirror and saw that I developed a terrible beer belly. Since I'm an incredible lazy person, I have an hatred of gyms, I purchased a slender tone belt from a shop. Other electric pulse belts are available. Though I've not lost weight, I now have a bit of a six-pack going on, and I've not done one stomach crunch. Enjoyed your DVD, by the way, up the hammers. Well, thank you very much for that, Dan from Ornchurch.
I've used one of them.
How do they work? Is that the one?
weird.
That, like the ladies.
What,
with
it pulses
sixties
you?
have?
Gives you a, like electric shock and it tenses up.
Well, it
And
pulses
then-
you right in
you
your
don't
belly.
lose any fat, so the muscles underneath the fat. You can have a six-pack
Really?
underneath a great big fat belly.
That's quite nice. Quite like the idea of having that.
Keep it secret.
Why not? It'd be lovely to know that that was there. This lady here. Oh, look, I knew I needed a good dose of self-improvement when I woke up on the floor of a stranger's house, and what I thought was a pillow was actually an ashtray. It was Stevenage. I'm wearing her clothes now. She swapped them for a double whiskey. Oh, this is two separate emails. That's that woman coming back to admit that it was Stevenage. Crikey.
It's dribbling out.
The truth is dribbling out. What a peculiar business all round. Matthew, when have you ever tried to improve yourself, have you?
Well, I went to the gym about 5 times a week last year.
Yeah, I remember that
Do you remember
period
when I got
of
all muscly?
incredible narcissism.
Turn
Was it?
your phone
Turn
off.
your phone off, Trevor. Yeah.
It wasn't narcissism, I got really fit and muscly. But then as soon as you stop going to the gym, about 2 weeks later, you're back to normal.
Just crumbles, don't you?
Pointless.
Really?
Is it really that pointless?
Well, it takes about a month to go back, but I was really muscly, and then as soon as you stop, it just withers away.
I don't like the atmosphere in gyms. I don't like
neither.
people looking at me.
No, that's because you create an atmosphere
I create
by
it.
wearing skimpy outfits. Really embarrassing.
What skimpy outfits have I ever worn?
Your swimming trunks. Why do you go like? I remember
think those are the best
when we
sorts.
went to Ibiza in like the year 2000.
Yeah.
They were vaguely acceptable then.
What were they? What
Well,
were they
because you're about 5 inches away from a big gay culture.
like? Is it a thong?
No, it's like what
Hot
are they?
pants.
Hot pants.
Speedos.
Those sort of hot pants. That's a brand, Trevor.
If you're a man and you're allowed to say brand names.
You're not. You're supposed to provide balance. This is the BBC. We've got Reithian ideals. We're meant to elevate the consciousness of our listeners. We're meant to go things like, right, okay, don't be miserable because we're all united by common things like love and beauty. Say that every so often.
Well,
and
instead
then
of
perhaps
talking about a man who wears swimming trunks that reveal the line where your buttock becomes your leg. That's not meant to be out if you're a man.
It's not meant to
The
be.
line where your buttock becomes. Oh,
Yeah. Do you know where your buttock becomes your leg?
Yes,
If
I know
that's
that
not
line.
exposed, he can't swim.
That is
It's
the-
not show off enough.
that is a
hot
delightful.
So, I don't like gyms. People laugh and point and say, you're not allowed to wear that in here. It upsets people.
People keep pointing at my bra. What kind of attitude is this? What sort of country where people don't accept my Basques?
Anyway, when have you been in a gym?
I went there once. I went there to meet new people. It didn't go very well. Now, look, we've got to go to a bit of the old newsy poos in a minute.
the old news.
Hold on a minute, I've got, right, last week, it was actually pre-recorded our show, and we dared the newsreader Chandrika to say hullabaloo somewhere in her broadcast. She did it. The week before that, we asked the newsreader, I believe it was Andrew the week before that, to say shenanigans. She did it. Now, it's approaching news time. It's nearly news time. What do you want him to say, Matt?
Higgledy-piggledy.
Oh,
That's easy.
That's a classic.
Higgledy-pickledy.
I think it's a classic.
What do you mean? It's good?
Yes, it fits in with the genre of all the other ones. Of course.
Shenanigans, hullabaloo.
Yeah.
So if in the news, this lady, not in a tragic story, and if, them tragic stories we
The
bow our
bodies
heads-
were laying higgledy-piggledy.
all over the scene of the massacre. We wouldn't expect that to in a higgledy-piggledy massacre. It was a lot of hullabaloo, said a witness through a veil of tears.
My last day here today.
Matt shows to celebrate the end of his career at the BBC by saying the word higgledy-piggledy. So, the word higgledy-piggledy, if you hear that word in this
words,
broadcast,
actually, isn't it?
oh, it's hyphenated.
No, it's hyphenated.
Let's not get
Does that
bogged
mean the
down.
word piggledies in the dictionary?
Matthew, if you ask any more questions like that, I'm sending you back to Dr. Bernardo's. Let's listen. This is 88 to 91 FM. This is Radio 2 from the BBC. Here's the news. That was Wire, is it?
Wire.
Outdoor Miner.
Yeah.
Brilliant song,
Why,
isn't it,
really
Matt?
good.
Yeah, well, you listen to Radio 2. What about the news? Andrew on the news said higgledy-piggledy.
Brilliant.
She said the rain will be falling in a higgledy-piggledy fashion. That's brilliant, isn't it? We can infiltrate the
hope it does.
news.
So if you just tuned in and you hadn't heard us
Say
that you would
so
think,
you just think,
that's
oh,
a weird thing
I'll
to say.
turn to the news for a moment, then idiots won't be on, and then you have to listen to the word higgledy-piggledy, infiltrating the news. Now let's keep this pressure up. Hopefully we'll be able to get people saying, Russell Brand's been made king of the Commonwealth now. We must all obey his crazy new orders. Do you think we could get that into the news? Of course
I
we
think
could.
that'll happen anyway.
It's inevitable, isn't it? We just have to keep... Now, we've just had a delightful... we've just had a brilliant bulletin, right, from Jennifer, who works with Morrissey. Is she
Hang
his
on,
manager?
you're going to check the facts on this because you don't know what he said.
No, well, right, well, Morrissey's manager, Jennifer, texted Mark, our
right.
producer, saying that Morrissey's on stage in Glasgow on his tour, which I recommend people go and see, and he goes, "Oh, Russell Brand is a charming man," or something like that, right? And we
Before
don't know the
charming
exact
man.
facts. We don't know if
the
there was...
lyrics to this charming
He sang,
man.
"This Russell Brand." There's no evidence to suggest that he changed the lyrics to "Charming Man," but he definitely
good,
mentioned
isn't
me
it?
on stage. Now, you're right, Matt, we don't know the context. He might have said, "I've met this preposterous idiot called Russell Brand." But, I mean, why would Jennifer, his manager, send to Mark, our producer, a text message saying Morrissey's just slandered
Dark sense
Russell
of
on
humour.
stage? She could be a very twisted,
Well,
cruel woman.
presumably she met you as well.
You vindictive, spiteful boy, Matthew Morgan. Get back to your orphanage.
What do you keep saying from an orphanage?
Cause I'm just trying to...
What do you keep saying, mister?
Hey, mister, why is your head so big? Mister, don't talk to me like you're an urchin and I'm the Elephant Man trying to make my way through Whitechapel Tube. I was saying it, Matt, like that time, because I want to infiltrate your brain the way we're infiltrating the news, and like that time, I was off to regression therapy, and Matt Morgan kept quietly mentioning things about Anne Frank, knowing I was on the way to regression therapy, so that I would go to regression therapy.
It was a scientific test. I wanted to know if regression therapy was real.
It's Anne Frank's days. I'm
So-
Anne Frank.
I was just sitting in the car and he was going off to have regression therapy and I wanted to know, I reckon his consciousness is about an inch deep. So, I was driving along, I just went, Anne Frank. Because it didn't happen, but
No,
I honestly
because my
thought he'd sit there go, oh, I'm in a cupboard, oh, the Nazis.
Yeah, well, terrible time in the Holocaust in Amsterdam, of course. No one's believing that. Matt was just simply trying to get inside my brain and ruin it more than I have already with drugs and egotism. Ridiculous business. But nonetheless, this is a happy occasion because Morrissey has mentioned me on stage. And even if
What a bizarre man.
Why?
And nonetheless, this is an happy occasion.
It's not a wedding.
I'd like to use this occasion to announce my marriage to my own brain box. It's a happy occasion. Because remember I mentioned them Reithian values? Like
Oh yeah,
about it's
how is
BBC
this a bit of Reithian value?
Because Morrissey...
Has mentioned you.
and Morrissey himself has a mission to elevate people,
Does
to
he?
talk about
Does he?
beauty. Of course
Was
he
he-
does. He's not miserable, he's very funny.
He
You're about to
sloped
say
off
he's
to
miserable.
Italy.
He didn't slope off, he strode off manfully in the pursuit of happiness. And if you listen to Morrissey songs or Smith songs, it makes you discover beauty in the mundane, majesty in the trivial. He is a true artist, and that is the obligation
That's
of
what
us
Morrissey
too as
does.
artists and writers.
That's what Morrissey does, yeah.
And what we do is that and all.
Yeah.
That's why I just used the word and all to describe something. So we've infiltrated the news. Morrissey has mentioned me on stage. This is a lovely, lovely day. Listen to how Kimberly Vickers tries to improve herself. She says, I went through a phase of self-improvement when I came out of a hellish girls-only school and into a mixed-sex college. When I saw the word written down,
college.
mixed-sex college, I thought, hello, that sounds like a nice place.
Pulling up on the first day.
Right,
With your
thanks.
sunglasses on.
Sex college, is it?
Welcome to Sex College. Okay, I bought some equipment. Brand, get out. It's not that kind of sex college. I think I'd get a diploma in that place. I decided to try and pretty myself up a bit, says Kimberly, of her first day in mixed sex college. Not mixed sex college, Mick, that taxi driver who was on the phone earlier. Oh, I'll start a sex college. Might be a bit hazardous. Oh no, I've lit off a firework in the science lab. Oh, the Bunsen burners have burned through my noggin. I tried to pretty myself up a bit, says Kimberly. I tried to rid myself of a slight podginess around my tummy, which is lovely on a woman, I think.
Isn't
A
it?
slight bit of podginess.
Absolutely.
What's the problem? Why don't women realise what is beautiful about themselves?
Exactly.
And that's boobs. I'm joking.
It's
Women
the-
are,
it's
it's
the
their
puppy-like
essence.
quality, isn't
it's
it?
the essence of them, their
Puppy-like
soul.
quality?
Trevor, that was sexist. You dirty sexist.
sexist.
Puppy?
What, saying a woman's like a puppy, Trevor?
Getting off on the Andrex puppy.
It would have stood out as one of his negative qualities and outbursts. Alright, this lady went on a cereal diet, did Kimberly. It grew boring very, very quickly.
Cereal diet?
And I missed my veggie sausages, which do taste good on a bed of salad. You're right, salad. Yeah.
Veggie sausage on salad. That's the special.
Why can't you talk?
Like my nan used to go, pizza, here, Russell, have some pizza. Veggie sausages and salad. Look, what I'm saying is this lady tried to improve
They weren't on a
herself.
bed of it, actually, when Russell made it.
What were
They were
they?
chopped into little pennies. He'd slice them up into dollars and just ruffle them through the salad.
It was delicious. I don't know why everyone's criticising my bloody cuisine. I have 2 self-improvement stories that I'd like to send you, says Lucy Keynes. 6 months ago, I decided to quit working at a Camden Naturist Club, tired of poor chat-up lines from the shrivelled old, she says, penises on parade. That's allowed.
What, the chat-up lines from the penises?
I think if a penis can talk at all, you shouldn't judge the quality of the chat-up line. The very fact that it's uttered a word should impress you.
It's a ventriloquist, surely.
Anyway, she
If you
goes...
put sunglasses above them, it's
Exactly.
almost believable.
And a cigarette beneath them. It's a glorious act. I'd pay a farthing for that. I'd pay a veggie sausage penny for that show. Anyway, she got tired, this lass, Lucy, of being at the Camden Naturist Club, watching all this, being chatted up by men with shrivelled old
Where is
penises,
that? 'Cause-
clumsily knocking mugs off the counter with my boobs. This sounds like a lovely place. She had to be there naked
It
as well.
shows as an email. It's not something you've scribbled
Hold on a
out.
minute, I'm just reading the inside of my eyelids. That's my thoughts. So she goes, look, I now work as a PA to architects. I've started a PhD part-time. I've graduated to fetish clubs. Still cheesy chat lines, but more opportunity for rude retort. I'm
Well,
still
she's-
clumsy though. Lucy's living in a wonder
Hang
world.
on, she's working in this business and complaining about it.
Lucy, listen, love. You either get on board or get out. Ship up or shape out. Sure, shut up or something, love. Knocking over mugs with your boobs. That's the last thing you should be doing at a naturist club. Keep them under... I've got...
Where's Camden Naturist Club?
We live near Camden in London town.
We want to go there,
That's the spirit,
but we
Matt
don't want to be
Morgan.
naked.
I think I know where it is.
I don't mind being
It's
naked.
not Camden. They call it Camden. It's actually Kentish Town.
Well, I'll still go. What do you mean? What do you think? Is
Those
it that
roister
Rio
doisters.
sauna? Not that Rio sauna place.
No
That's not a
point in me,
naturist
that.
club.
Don't say the name of it.
Alright, well, if people go, Rio sauna, I'll pop down. Well, that looks like a terrifying place. Once a man told me that he'd go there for what I can only describe as heartbreakingly drab threesomes with his wife to inspire a lacklustre, decaying marriage. And I'd listen, I thought, and it was called like the Rio Spa or something.
Do you still see
conjuring
that
up some Copacabana. The three of us had a lovely evening last night, as a matter of fact. Well,
At
yeah.
the Copa.
Copacabana, music and
Sausage on a stick.
Oh Christ, not today, I've already had one. Yeah, well, I'm interested in this Lucy's world. I'd like to know more. Lucy, you should keep a blog, dear. Read our blog on Radio 2 as well, normally written by Matt Morgan or Trevor Locke. I'm going to write one day. Oh, what a day that'll be. Go
Ladies
and
and
see Morrissey
gentlemen,
on
stream
tour.
of consciousness there.
Someone said
Get a
I'm
blog,
like a
read
James
our blog.
Joyce of comedy, and then they retracted that and said,
What, hard to understand?
Hard to understand, obscure, out of date, and unnecessary.
And a bit long.
Basically one good novel in him. Okay, so, right, this is nearly the end of our time, so we go to a track, and then we go into this Morrissey interview. Hold on, G's written us a poem. Let's listen to
Oh,
G's
yeah.
poem. G, give credit for Mr. G, our poet. Yeah, alright.
Okay, poem about self-improvement.
Well done.
We're compiling a shopping list for self-improvement, stocking our trolleys with an end to our confusion. Desiring to be better, prettier, fitter, stronger. Breasts need to be bigger, dinkles need to be longer. Have we got a gun shield for Trevor? Check. One that
A
can
what
survive any weather? Check. A farm animal for Russell to help him go to the toilet better? Check. Perhaps you too can improve the rest of your life so by hiring a strange man to wave his little biro, hoping the grand you put in his hand won't affect him during his gyro. So what can we expect next? Bigger abs, stronger pecs, perhaps Morrissey can provide the answer and he's coming up next.
Mr. G, elevating culture. There's your BBC, there's your BBC value. Thank you very much, Mr. G. That was a fantastic poem. Okay, so this is pre-recorded, the interview with Morrissey now, but what an interview. We'll listen to it in the car on the way home. You's lot stay listening, because it's going to be brilliant. What's the track we're going to listen to on the way into Morrissey?
Barracuda by John Cale.
Oh, nice, Barracuda by John Cale. This will be exciting. That too will elevate us. Alright, well, we'll be back next week between 9 and 11. Until then, we offer you actual, genuine love from inside of ourselves. This is 88 to 91 FM, baby,
Baby.
so well. This is from a baby. I mean, it could have been, essentially. Yeah, this is the BBC. Thanks for listening. Stay with us for this Morrissey interview, because it's brilliant. Take care. Ta-ta. Love you. Bye. People have a tendency to bleach out idiosyncrasy.
Yes.
I wonder why this is
It's
Morrissey.
because they don't know what makes them so interesting and special. They actually don't know. Other people do, but they don't know. They have to be told.
Do you think that's true about yourself?
No, just everybody else.
Just everybody else.
Not me.
Don't you think aren't there things about your character that you lament, but that other people might see as defining?
Well, I wish I was much taller.
Really?
No. You're so gullible.
Yeah, I am. This is a difficult position for me because I'm like not many people, no one in fact, else that I would have a tendency to fawn over. Were Peter Cook alive, I would be vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
But aside from that, there's no one, and it's the.
Well, you mentioned your heroes on the show.
Yeah, and
I was quite surprised.
Well, Chris Morris, Vic Reeves, and Jonathan Ross I just mentioned for the joke because it was funny because that was true. I did send him.
But he's very clever.
He is a very clever man.
Very clever, I think.
He's a brilliant broadcaster. I noticed, like, I watched you when you were on Jonathan Ross's programme, and I always feel that is not an ideal environment for you. You don't seem particularly...
Not really, because when you do television like that, as soon as you walk onto the set, you have to spring a bit, and you have to walk a bit taller, and you have to sort of bounce a little bit, and I'm not very good at that.
Why is this?
Why is this? It's because I'm incurably not natural. That's not the word, but the word is Jennifer. What's the word?
Oh, Jennifer. You can't just expect Jennifer to have access to your vocabulary.
She's wearing a white coat. She should know.
Jennifer, that white coat denotes absolutely nothing. It's as if you've no professionalism. Morrissey was groping for a word, and you offered naught.
See, Jennifer, the woman in white. I think it's because I'm just very, very, very natural person.
Okay, but the first time I saw you perform, I was struck.
I don't perform. Seals perform, unfortunately.
Seals, what is it they now? What is the verb that we use to describe what you do as a job?
Appear live.
Well, first time I see you appear live, I was struck by... I thought that you had... Because
I'm normally a corpse, of course.
No, but I thought that... What I thought was that you'd be more slight and sort of like fey.
Yes.
Whereas you are quite sturdy and heroic.
Well, yes. I mean, this is something I've been trying to tell the world for years and years, because often people mimic me. And it's this character that died many years ago, this very fey sort of person who was almost dead in the bath.
Why do you think people cling to that caricature and
because it was the first way that they were introduced to me, I think, and it just locks into people's brains, and people think that you're incapable of change.
Does that feel restrictive?
Yes, it really annoys me. It really annoys me, because although I have a very poetic instinct, I'm not permanently lying on the floor covered in what's the word, Jennifer?
Stop making Jennifer do your interview. Jennifer is here. There is a lady called Jennifer here who it now seems, as a job, has to cater to Morrissey's innermost thoughts.
But she hasn't so far.
Jennifer, frankly, you've been awful in this interview. Morrissey, you've been a joy. You, Jennifer, should be shot like a dog.
But as for you, of course...
Yes.
I mean, you're taking the whole thing further and farther... Not as in paternal.
No.
No, but you realise that, don't you?
What thing? What thing am I taking further?
This whole strange comedy thing and television thing and comedy's peculiarity and idiosyncratic insanity. I mean, it's this far, and now you're taking it that far.
Really?
Which is very, very good. I mean, you should be very pleased with yourself.
Thank you very much.
Are you?
Yes, I am, actually. One thing I learned from you was that you oughtn't, like, if you admire somebody, with you, I thought, what more, I read somewhere about you, so this isn't an original thought, that you are a new archetype, whereas Eminem is another version of Elvis, and, Oasis are really derived from the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, or however you want to regard it. That you're a new archetype, and what that made me think is, you must be truthful to yourself and celebrate what you are, and then the mundane can become heroic, the seemingly weak can become heroic. What do you reckon about that for a bit of analysis?
I think you probably sat up all night rehearsing that speech.
I never. I just said that straight out of my brain.
Well, that's very impressive.
I didn't, Morrissey. I just said it. I've not had the opportunity to rehearse this. There's no point rehearsing an interview with you. You could just wander off at any moment. There's no point in assuming you'll do it.
So you're not related to Joe Brand?
I'm not related to Joe Brand.
You're not an identical twin?
How dare you? I'm sat here as dashing as I could possibly be. As seductive as I could be seated. Although Joe Brand is a lovely woman.
She is fantastic. Very, very clever.
No, I'm not.
Comedy and cookery are usually try and avoid
Yes.
watching. But she is very, very good.
Who else? Who do you admire currently, musically, and
Nobody.
across culture? No one. Don't think anyone's any good.
Nobody. No.
What was it? It ended at Sandy Shore, New York Dolls. Yeah.
Christine Young, a singer that you don't know.
Okay.
But you'll play this tonight.
We'll play it tonight on the
And
Radio 2 show.
Yes, you'll play it on your show, and your life will change.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
So she is
Why? What's so good about her?
incredible voice, completely original, and an absolute artist. Great songs. I mean, these things don't really happen anymore in music. They just don't.
Really? What great songs, incredible artists? That's not prevalent in music today.
No.
Why? What's going on?
Oh, well, don't ask me.
Why not?
It's just a statement of fact.
I need to ask you.
I'm simply observing.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is the case, but songs,
Yeah.
singers.
Okay. You described Morrissey as an artist. What are the different things that define an artist?
Somebody who is on a course, and they're unstoppable, and they live or die by what they do, and they can't be moulded, and they can't be controlled, and they can't be directed, and which is, you'll be very surprised to hear this, is how you are.
Thank you. What an extraordinary compliment. That's very kind of you.
Well,
Another thing, these are some things that I've always thought about. This is one thing I love. So when asked the question, I can't remember by what magazine, what is the best bit of advice you've ever been given? You responded, watch what you're doing with them effing flowers backstage at Top of the Pops from Paul Weller.
yeah.
I like that joke.
Well, it was a joke.
Yeah, I assumed as much. This is what is difficult with you, because of all the cliche of you as some perpetual miserablist, no one, I think, who understands you or understands your work has ever bought into, because it seems to me you're dead funny all the time.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I wake up, I look in the mirror, and I just laugh hysterically.
You giggle your way
I
through
can't
the
stop
day.
giggling all day. Well, I think most people are very, very drab. And I think most people in music are really drab. And most songs are drab. And nobody has any spark of originality or individualism. So I'm not saying that I do, but, well, I am really.
Why do you think this is? Because this is a culture that represses those, oppresses...
No, I just think because most people are pretty boring anyway. They really are.
Essentially, you think
Yes,
essential
I
cause?
do. I think most people are pretty drab.
Oh, Morrissey, don't you think there's a
No.
beauty? People say,
No.
oh, Morrissey,
I
you
think
do.
the human race is very, very, very overrated.
Really?
Yes.
Is it we're spectacular, wonderful beings, part divine, part animal?
Many of them are no longer with us. And those who are with us I've not met.
Morrissey, what things are you gonna... Those people that... Oi, I'm one of them people.
I see, you know how the head begins to swell?
Oh, do you think I'm...
Just one compliment and then it's...
It's affected me.
Your hair will be even larger next week.
Where is there left for me to go in terms of me barnet? There's no mountains left to climb.
However, I don't like Jamie Oliver.
Why is this?
Because every day of his life he kills things. Kill. So I don't like Jamie Oliver.
On the basis of his
Yes.
carnivorous
I
nature.
think he's very, very nasty.
You're still very militant about your vegetarianism then?
Well, I'm not vegetarian.
What are you now, vegan? What?
No, I'm neither of those things. I just don't eat animals.
Yeah.
I don't eat anything that's lived.
Yeah.
I don't bring a life to end simply because I'm slightly peckish. So, I'm not vegetarian in the sense that elaborate vegetarian dishes I don't really care for. I mean, I'm still very much chocolate and crisps.
Chocolate and crisps? You're just going through like guzzling chocolate and crisps?
Well, I don't guzzle.
Alright, then
I mean, I'm
daintily
not
popping them in your gob.
I'm not from Romford, you know.
I'm from near there, Graves I'm from.
That's why I said that.
I see, I
He's
see.
catching on, Jennifer.
Well, it's nice that you've got through the last 7 minutes without having to consult Jennifer to unwire your own brain.
Well, we're a double act.
Which is lovely. It seems to me she is carrying the cerebral burden in this double act. Morrissey,
Yes.
sir, what things will you do then in the future?
In the future, I don't really look to the future.
Why?
Why? Because I don't think there's much point. I could be run over by a horse tomorrow.
It's unlikely. They can't drive for a start.
Yes, well, there's always a first time.
Oh,
Always a
crikey.
first time.
One became Pope once, so one driving, I suppose, is a sideways step, if anything.
See? So anything could happen to me tomorrow, so I don't really plan. I just take life 1 minute at a time.
Morrissey, are you happier as an older man than you was as a young man?
I am still young. Look closer.
Well, you're very dashing. I'm not criticising you
Incredibly
aesthetically.
young. I have a very young spirit, I think.
Okay, but it seems to me that you've changed, like, from, sort of, in your earlier work.
But you didn't know me then, you see, as a human being. You just simply read The Bunty or something, and thought, oh, this is what he's really like.
Yeah.
So the first comedian that really made you guffaw was?
Well, maybe Billy Connolly, but like Peter Cook is the sort of the beacon to, you know, that guides me.
The beacon, yeah.
Yeah, as it were. And like Richard Pryor, sort of.
Well, your hand gestures are a bit Peter Cook.
Are they?
Yeah.
Ah, good.
They are. But you knew that, really.
Well, I suppose so. Yeah, it's an affectation.
Yes.
It's a learned behaviour.
Because he was always pointing to something that was slightly left of centre.
Yes, well, right. Cerebrally and artistically, you were always pointing to the left of centre. Yes, I suppose he was.
Yes.
Guess what I do and all? I swish microphone cables about in an onstage homage to you.
Well, that's really nice.
Thanks.
That's really nice.
I thought you should know. Guess what? I've got to ask you lots more, like as many more questions as you yourself will permit, because otherwise people will go, "You interviewed Morrissey and you didn't shut up." But it's nerves a little bit.
Yeah.
Because so come on, let's ask some actual proper questions.
So you do actually have nerves occasionally?
I do. Yeah.
Well, then why do you do it then? I mean, why do you walk on and take all this on and all these people and all this insanity? I mean, surely you think there's an easier life and you could go back to Romford or Grays or Chelmsford and just be I don't know, a homeless person.
I mean, it's an attractive option, Morrissey.
Well, it's in the future.
I look forward to sleeping by some bins in Basildon in the future. I suppose because it's the only thing that makes me happy. It's the only time that life... So I find life a bit of a pain in the arse and a bit difficult. And like when I'm performing, it makes... I think it's manageable. I think it's beautiful. I'm released from myself. I feel unshackled and I feel part of a larger whole.
And how many CSEs did you get at school?
I was not rewarded any CSEs.
O-levels?
I got 4 GCSEs actually.
What, a secondary modern failure?
I went to a comprehensive school. Things didn't go well, Morrissey. I didn't fit in. It were a difficult time, not only for them, for me.
Yes.
What about you? You were a qualified man.
Not really. I mean, a smattering of O-levels, but nothing that would impress anybody.
Yeah.
No.
I don't suppose it's ever been particularly relevant.
I don't think it's relevant to anybody. I just don't. I mean, is it relevant? Was it relevant to Diana Spencer?
No.
Her little 2 O-levels?
No, I suppose not.
Did it stop her?
No, she did quite well, as I recall.
She did quite well, but maybe she'd be still alive if she got that 3rd O-level.
That 3rd O-level could have given her a few more months at the very least.
Yes.
I would imagine.
Yes.
So, Morrissey. Are you going to continue making us music and performing and everything?
Well, I don't perform.
Oh, right, to appear live. What's your problem with that verb? Because it was an affective, because of innocent application.
It sounds as if I'm there with a hat and a cane and I'm skipping and then, the lights go down and I turn into an incredibly drab person. So it's not a performance.
Yeah.
It's not a performance. It's not something I've concocted. But back to the question, which...
it was, were you carrying on doing this for the foreseeable future?
How can anybody possibly know? I mean, I could have a wooden leg next week. So how come you're on this station and not another station?
What, BBC Radio 2? Because the adventurous controller of BBC Radio 2, Leslie Douglas, thought that she thinks I'm good because she's like, and she thinks it'd be innovative to have me on the station.
Yes, and your favourite DJ of all time is?
I don't know if I really have one. Really, it's not.
Anybody you ever listen to obsessively and?
No, there is not. There are not any. Like, I was all grew up watching TV. I was raised by television, particularly, to tell you the truth.
But you were a problem child.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, and that's all over now.
Do you think so?
No, that was a question.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to relinquish. Sometimes it's hard to let go of those problems, the things that define you.
Yes.
Don't you find that?
Yes, I do. I think the child stays within us. And that's quite nice, really. I mean, it's embarrassing when you're 28, 29, 30, but then when you're beyond the 40 threshold, you think it's very nice. And you're quite happy to be as you are. And you reach a take it or leave it stage. Take me or leave me stage. And that's where I am.
So you have accepted yourself?
Yes.
Good, I'm glad that you have. Are you living in Europe still?
Still in Europe. I live just anywhere.
What,
Jennifer, where do I live?
The first contribution Jennifer's made to this interview is to utter the word nowhere.
Yes, I think you should put heavy reverb on that. And
will sound like an address from the Lord himself by the time we finish with it.
Yes.
It will sound like an enunciation from Mount Sinai.
If you have a bad dream, that word will be in it. So what do you watch on television?
Well, I like American comedy, like Curb Your Enthusiasm, stuff like that. I like Jonathan Ross's television programme. Mostly
He's
comedy.
not American.
Well, okay, you've pointed out an obvious flaw in my argument. Arrested Development. What do you watch on television?
Not that much, really.
Why?
Why? Because I think most of it is terrible.
Think it's what's wrong with it?
I don't know. I quite like Emmerdale sometimes.
What do you like Emmerdale for?
Well, it's brief, and you don't really have to think too much.
Right, so it's just easily accessible.
Did you ever see when you were really small in the early 80s, about 80, 81, Wood and Walters?
I know. Oh, Victoria Wood. Yeah.
But before she was as seen on TV and Victoria Wood and blah 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 blah, she was Wood and Walters.
I have.
Did you ever see
those?
But did you ever see those? There was about 12 episodes.
I don't recall them, Morrissey.
Very, very, very revolutionary.
Why?
Because I think they changed British comedy completely for not just for women, but for men as well.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, because they were completely different, very intelligent, and it seemed to be a different kind of humour that hadn't been on television before. A different way of thinking, a different way of telling a joke, and a different way of being silly. And so she was very, very unique, I thought. And that programme, that show, however you wish to term it, I think changed everything.
Victoria Wood is she reminds me of her writing, at least reminds me of Alan Bennett's writing.
Oh yeah, well she was hugely influenced by him.
Yeah.
And I mean, did you see his plays in the late 70s on television? I mean, I know you were really tiny and you were running around listening to Mud, etc. But did you see the early Alan Bennett stuff?
What sort of thing?
I'm Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Say Something Happened.
No.
Very, very original, very funny, very northern, very deadpan, gallows humour.
Why are you drawn to that sort of stuff?
Because I'm northern.
Yeah.
I was born in central Manchester, and so I understand the whole idea of lack of choice, and the humour in lack of choice.
Lack of choice?
Yeah, in everything. And I think it brings out the best and the worst.
What do you mean by this lack of choice, Morrissey?
Well, think about it. Manchester, the 60s, the 70s. I mean, it really is. In Manchester, it really still was 1945. And there wasn't much hope for people. And that's why so much interesting music has come from Manchester.
Right.
Because you're forced inwards. You don't go to the beach. You don't ski. You don't do anything dramatic or glamorous. And there's no such thing as money. And there's hardly jobs around. And you don't want to do jobs anyway. So you're forced inwards. And it brings out the best of you.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the situation under which you grew up and your work was developed.
That's the stamp across this face that you're glaring into.
So it's a marvellous stamp, if I may say.
Well, you know.
How come then that you was so is that why you were drawn to New York Dolls and things like that?
Well, I was drawn to them because the songs were fantastic, and at that period in 1973 they were just like a bolt out of hell. They were the most peculiar thing that anybody had ever seen. We're all very used to glamorous musicians now, and people with wild hair and so forth, but they were the most extreme thing that ever happened in music. And that was for me.
Right, so what did that mean to you in Manchester?
Because they were very tough, but they had this this almost genderless appearance, and they absolutely did not care about anything, and they were very, very funny.
Right, how? Where was the humour?
The humour was in the interviews. They absolutely just didn't care about anything. And they almost didn't care if they were successful, and most of them didn't care if they lived much longer, and they didn't. So it was a very reckless abandon, which I loved.
The nihilism, then.
Yes, and they weren't trying to impress anybody.
But for you, it seems that, like in the situation you described in Manchester growing up, that like meaning would have been something that you would have embraced. So it's interesting to me that the nihilism of the New York Dolls attracted
Well, I
you.
think they had so much meaning. There was so much depth, so much character. Everything about them was interesting. Their names, the way they looked, what they were trying to do. And just the name of the group alone, the New York Dolls, just sounded so incredibly important.
Yes.
And you won't remember 1973.
No.
You really won't, do you?
No, I do not. God,
No.
I was not alive.
Well, it was Jennifer doesn't remember either, but...
There's no point listening to her. She wouldn't be no bloody help. I've give up on her. I forgot she was here, Morrissey, tell you the truth.
Well, it was... He likes you, Jennifer.
That were a joke to appeal to Morrissey.
He likes you. Incredibly barren times. I mean, it was still 1967, and everybody was as boring as hell. And suddenly there was this flash of transgender noise, and it was fantastic. Very, very witty.
Yes.
And the lyrics were great as well.
Okay, but do you think then that does art have an obligation to attain or issue any higher meaning other than that in which other than it?
I think what makes any kind of art interesting is that it has no obligation to anything. It's just existing there, and you find it or you don't. And when you find it, you discover for yourself what it has. But art doesn't stand in front of you and say, "Hello, I'm art," and you must look at me this way. And what's the next step?
Just carry on doing stand-up, make films.
No. Make films?
Make films.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and go to America, make films there.
Yeah, and why America?
Because America, like if as John Lennon said, if you lived in Roman times, you'd want to live in Rome. So if you like now, that's where the cultural hub. And I think that art does have an obligation to change the world, and in fact to change things ultimately, and to show, to be, I don't know, to innovate and to inspire. And I don't think, and as you say, like, you know, art, don't have to go, oh, hello, I'm art. Would you put the kettle on? I've popped around. But I think it should go, I'm art, I'm kicking the doors in, let's all change and have it off in the vestry.
Well, very eloquently put. I mean, I could almost be listening to Shakespeare, I think. I mean, art is always in people's minds a very youthful thing.
Yes.
Art is never an old crusty thing.
Why?
I don't know, because it's art. But really, as I was trying to say before, how do we determine if something is art? I mean, there's so many things hanging in the Tate, which are disgusting and horrible, but somehow they're classified as art. And there are many people in the world who consider themselves to be artists, and they're absolutely atrociously, pointlessly horrible and should be beheaded in a public auditorium. So art is in the eye, ear of the beholder.
I reckon that art is where you taste divinity, when you feel God, when you transcend the self and find a higher meaning.
Well, very nicely put, but you're wrong.
Why? What is it then?
I don't know.
Well,
You're just wrong. Accept it, live with it, move on, face love.
Morrissey, thank you very much. Let's, before you clear off to watch that Umbrella cliffhanger on Emmerdale, well, let's plug these things of yours. Ringleader of the Tormentors, that's been out ages. Why people will already have that, won't they? There's no point plugging that.
They could buy it twice.
Buy it twice? What kind of, consume properly, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
Right, okay, and when's, just want to see the boy happy, when's that out?
It's out on Monday.
That's out on Monday?
Yeah.
get it then. But singles, people don't buy singles anymore, do they? Download things.
Yeah, they do, but I mean, some people do because charts still exist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some people are buying something.
Someone's out there buying something.
I know, it's an ever-changing world.
The world, change is the only thing that's constant, I suppose. Morrissey, you're off on this tour. What's this going on in Mexico? How come they're so obsessed? What are you touching in Mexican people?
Touching Mexican people? I knew you'd accuse me of something. Would you really like an answer?
Yeah, I do, because I don't understand
what
it is in your music that reaches out to that some odd, or some very particular subculture.
Have you been to Mexico?
No.
Well, the passion in the people. They are beautiful people, full of passion, and full of great rhythm and movement and emotion, and that is the connection.
Ah, the rhythm, passion. Okay, let's talk about these UK dates. You can see Morrissey on December the 4th, December the 5th, December the 7th, December the 8th, December the 22nd, December the 23rd. Glasgow, Newcastle, all over the country. There must be some website people can look at with Morrissey.
Probably.
You don't know things like that. If people want to go, your gigs they'll just sell out anyway because of your obsessive fan base. Do you feel integrated with your fans?
Well, I don't consider them to be fans.
What do you consider them to be?
Well, because fans is a horribly demeaning word.
Fanatic.
And often I've been interviewed in the press and I've spoken about the audience, and they always print the term "my fans" or "the fans," and I don't know why. They won't print the audience.
It's succinct, isn't it? Tabloids are all about. That's why you have words like "topped." You know, it's less syllables than children.
It's a matter of reducing everything because they assume that everybody's out there who reads anything is a blithering idiot.
Yes, and then sort of contribute to people becoming blithering idiots by lowering the standards of the world.
Yes, you and I know.
Ah, yes, we know this, Morrissey. We know this to be true. I'm going to come and see you. I'll come and see you in London.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have extra security.
No, don't! Let me come and say, if I meet you again, Morrissey, in an off-air situation, am I entitled to go, alright, and come and say hello to you, or will I be
Not really.
Oh, go on!
I don't know, I'll think about it.
Don't be... Please, we've signed all these things. David Walliams wants one signed. I want one. Can I have things?
Can I have things?
Can I have things? Objects. They'll make me happy. I've been given things. Tell me, will you sign me something? I've never asked anyone for an autograph, ever.
Really? Danny LaRue?
Marco van Basten, the Dutch footballer, once, but other than that, nobody. But we do, I mean, I don't know how good this will be as radio, but we signed something for me. Will you sign that for me, Morrissey?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much.
And your name is?
I'm called Russell. I'm a big fan. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to use the word fan. I'm a member of your audience.
What do you mean when I appear live?
Yeah, when you appear live. Heaven forbid you should do anything as lowly as perform. Oh, that'd be beneath you.
So let me get this straight. You're not Joe Brand.
I'm not Joe Brand. No. Lovely though she is, I ain't her. I'm Russell Brand. I'm your fan.
Yes.
The audience member.
Extraordinary. So I'm just going to sign this, which is compulsive radio, of course.
Yes. Morrissey is now writing with he's using his Morrissey hand to write his name across a disc.
Well, I can't use Jennifer's hand, can I?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I've been trying to use her brain throughout the interview. Okay, thank you very much. I'm really happy. It's been such a joy to meet you. I must say I'm thrilled, and it was something that retrospectively I'm sure I'll have a sob about the whole experience, particularly the bits where you were quite offensive.
Really?
No, you were lovely throughout.
I know.
Thank you so much. It's lovely talking to you. I mean, it's a radio interview, but I still feel... can't I end it by cuddling you, or will that seem overly aggressive?
But how will anybody know it took place?
Well, I don't know. I'll make I'll go, oh... I'll do a sound effect.
That could be an Emmerdale sound effect.
No, they will taste the authenticity. The audience of the show will know it's not a performance. Come on. Morrissey's now rising up onto his hindquarters.
I have no choice.
Oh, thank you, Morrissey. Thank you. That was Shoplifters of the World Unite and Take Over by Morrissey. Actually, that was by the Smiths, but Morrissey was doing the singing bit. So, right, Matt and Trevor haven't actually heard the interview that I've just done, but what do you imagine might have been in it, Matt?
Sycophancy?
There was some sycophancy, yes. Trevor, have you got any ideas what might have taken place during that interview between me and Stephen Patrick Morrissey, the pre-recorded interview we just listened to? But actually, this is before it.
Well, like me, I think he might have struggled to get a word in.
He did struggle, actually. There were bits where I had to actively say, oh no, I'm interviewing Morrissey and I'm talking more than Morrissey. That's
How are you
wasn't it?
positioned during that interview? Were you sat on his lap, or?
I sat opposite him, much the way I'm sat opposite you now, with two microphones between us. No, we're closer than that, and at the end of it, I cuddled Morrissey.
Did you?
I could
What, you mean your cat?
Did his security lead you out by your hair?
I was kicked out roundly and brutally by my nuts. Now then, so that was old me
So have you got
interviewing
his number
Morrissey.
now? You his mate?
I've tried to get it to be a friendship. I goes, Morrissey, can I be your friend and come turn up at your gigs and be your friend now? He goes, if ever I'm aware that you're at my gigs. And then there was a pause and I thought, yes, Morrissey, yes. He goes, I will ensure that there is extra security those nights.
Did he?
yeah. But I think he was being nice. So anyway, this
Sound like it.
No, he went, that's just me and Morrissey. We always joke like that. Oh, me and Morrissey, it's just one of the things we do. We just muck about like that. So, this is Russell Brand on Radio 2, 88 to 91 FM. What a lovely show we've had. Did you enjoy it, you lot?
I don't know.
It was brilliant.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Let's just assume that it was a great show. Next week, who we'll have on the show? We'll have some brilliant comedians, things like that. It'll be brilliant. Thank you very much for listening. Tune in next week. Stay with us on BBC Radio 2. Night. Bye.